Hello, friends. My name is Matti McLean. I'm a Canadian Eurovision, and today I'm mixing things up a bit. If you are listening to me online, you might wonder why I haven't done this format before, but that's because online I do two things. I have a podcast called Canadian in Eurovision, which you are probably aware of because you're probably going to be listening to this right now, but I also run a YouTube channel called Ranked, in which case I take things that I like and I rank them randomly, or I do trivia contests. But today, I feel like there's nothing better than knowing yourself. So for my 20th episode of Canadian in Eurovision, I am flipping the mirror on myself. I am saying, which episodes have I created that I enjoy the most? What didn't I enjoy? Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Because I don't feel like every episode I've made is fantastic, and there's no better time to look at things than to look yourself in the mirror and say, I am ashamed of everything I have done. So in honor of that, I have made this lovely tier list here. So this tier list is comprised of all of the episodes I've made so far, all 19 of them. This will technically be the 20th episode, although it's a video episode. That's something I've tried before and now hopefully will be better. So you can watch me, hello, or you can just listen for your own pleasure and amusement. So to start off with, the first episode I did focused around my favorite song from Eurovision of all time. To no one's surprise, the song is Lorraine's Euphoria from 2012. I've loved this song. I think that it's so good. Her voice is amazing. The song, it still slaps. It's 10 years later. It's still fantastic. I adore everything about it, and I thought that this was a really good way to step into the spotlight in terms of, this is Eurovision, this is what I've created, this is what I want to do with the project. I feel like this might be one of the strongest elements where I took my personal history with Eurovision, and combined it with the episode itself in question, so I gave context for what was going on, and I gave my opinions, and I gave my thoughts and feelings. So for that reason, I do feel like this is a very strong contender. I have greatly enjoyed making this one, and I feel like it's been a really good place to start. My second episode focused on countries that have never won or haven't won in a long time. I focused on a lot of songs that still meant a lot to me. I focused a lot on songs that I would eventually come back to. So focusing on songs like Iceland and Cyprus. These are songs that obviously hold a special place in my heart and I've really enjoyed. So I feel like this was a very good follow-up. Do I feel like it's as strong as my initial episode? I don't know. But I think that they're both pretty good. Do I think that these are both the best episodes I've created? I'm going to say no, because I feel like there's still some rough edges at the beginning that I have ironed out and I've been learning to iron out. But from where I started, I feel like these are both really good places to start from. The next episode I released was about the best. I wanted to focus on songs that were quantifiably the best in some way, whether it be through their message, whether it be through the technicality of them, or just songs that were fun. So is it the best of the best? No. I would put this actually still in the same order. Episode 1 I think is my favorite, then 2, then 3. I do feel like it's one of the ones that I really enjoyed doing. I really enjoyed making it. I still had a lot of fire and fun with it. So overall, if you're looking for a good place to start with my episodes, start from the beginning. Why not? You get a background of everything that I've done. You get to experiment with it. You get to try new things. You get to see how it goes. I'm really fond of where I started out with this. I feel like I started from a good place. And I feel like that's kind of reflected in the quality of these episodes. Canadian in Eurovision episode 4 was all about Russia and Ukraine. This, I think, is my favorite episode of all time that I've made. I don't know if I'll make another one quite as good as this because I got my dad to do it with me, and that meant a lot to me. That meant a lot to, I hope, to him. I got to show him the Russian versus Ukraine 2016 episodes. I feel like that was a lot of fun. Getting his opinion and his thoughts on these things from a historical perspective was really gratifying, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to not only share my latest passions with him, but also for him to really get a handle of where I am now and get his thoughts and opinions on the songs back then. And this was all happening right before the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So that was where everything was building. There was still a lot of tension there. No one really knew what was going to happen. Well, I think we all knew what was going to happen. But there was still a lot of ambiguity in the air and a lot of things not being paid attention to. So overall, I do feel like this episode was one that I hold very near and dear to my heart, and it's one that I hope that you do as well. My Australia episode is probably my most successful episode so far. I feel like a lot of people, especially if you're from Canada or America, you are going to be confused as to why Australia is included in Eurovision. And a lot of that just doesn't make sense to our outside mind. I do think that it's probably one that I had the most fun with. It's definitely one that I did a lot of really broad strokes history with Eurovision, and I really did enjoy that aspect of it and getting to have that little bit of fun. So I hope that you guys got that as well, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to share that perspective. The next episode I did was Unqualified. This was an episode where I got to talk about Verona, which is still one of my favorite songs. I really enjoyed this one. I will say it's not bad, because I will admit that going back, it's one of those ones I have to listen to. It's just like, what were the songs that I picked and why? So overall, I still think it's a very strong episode. I really enjoyed making it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's one that still holds up, and I'm really proud of what I made in terms of that. So yeah, if you agree, please let me know, because I'm always interested to know. The great thing about this is that this is entirely stream of consciousness. So everything you're getting is more traditional podcast word diarrhea stream of thought, rather than something that I've really prepared and prepped. And this is 100% because I want to direct people towards my ranked channel, but also just because I feel like this is a very loose and silly way to kind of rank my own progress and where I've gone. So I really appreciate you bearing with me and having some fun with this, and hopefully you enjoy what you see as well. Also, I will make this available for anyone who wants to be able to actually go through and rank them yourselves. I want to know what episodes you think you've liked, what episodes you haven't liked, and any ways I can improve. I'm always looking for those suggestions, so I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, and I hope you like. Moving on, we go to a Canadian Eurovision episode 7, the one about bands, where I talked about Lake Malawi. I talked about a couple other bands. I had a lot of fun with this one. I do think that it's in the not bad category, because I'm being extra harsh on myself, and I feel like at this point I was really looking for songs that I could latch onto or grasp and be like, yeah, this isn't as cohesive. I don't bring a lot of my personal history into this, but I got to talk about Wigwam, which was so much fun, and I still love them to this day. So I appreciate the fact that I got to share a lot of band songs that I really enjoyed, and these are definitely episodes that I should go back and revisit and listen to more often, because it does help me in terms of how I'm presenting things and how I'm moving forward with them. The Downbeat episode, I'm going to say this is a not great episode. It's definitely not one that I want people to start with, simply because it is lacking a little bit of my own enthusiasm. I really did... I'm not always in the greatest headspace, and so this was a really cathartic episode for me. I feel like I let a lot out. I got to talk about some really great songs that I really love and appreciate to this day. But overall, is it my strongest episode? I don't think so. I feel like I've come a long way since then, even, and I feel like I've been able to share and grow a lot. So I'm really happy at the fact that I've got to share these things, but I also recognize that when you're sharing your mood, sometimes looking back later on, it can be a little self-frustrating, I suppose is the best way to put it. So I will put it there. Canadian in Eurovision girl groups. I love talking about girl groups. I do feel like time is probably... Okay, so we're doing this live. So that was a mistake. I should not have hit the back button. Welcome back. I'm still talking about girl groups. So this episode was kind of interrupted simply by the fact that the war in Ukraine broke out. And because of that, I really didn't feel comfortable. I was originally going to talk about Ogene from Netherlands 2011, which I still love. Still a great song. Really appreciate going to do the episode. I talked about the Mamas from 2020 Sweden. And I was going to talk about the Babushkas from 2012. But once the war broke out, I really didn't feel comfortable talking about that. And so I instead focused on Alina Pash, because she had just gone through her own controversy with Ukraine and entering Crimea without the proper paperwork. It was a very minor issue, but one that obviously had great consequences moving forward. Ultimately, it didn't affect their placement, Ukraine's placement in the contest, as we look back and see that that's very much the case. But I can understand how this episode in particular suffered because of it, because I really didn't feel comfortable shining a positive light on Russia in that moment, because the time wasn't right. If I ever revisit this episode, they will be included because there's no shortage of girl groups in Eurovision. You can go to Charm 2000. Or was it 2004? I think it was 2000. But there's so many, and they never end.